the nuances and a little bit of the extra care and concern that it takes when working with volunteers. We really do have to appreciate we are competing with their personal time. They have doctor's appointments, they go to church, they have kids in school, they have hair appointments. I mean, they could be doing so many other things with their spare time, and they're choosing to pick up a shift, drive here, spend a couple of hours, and give it up that way. That needs to be a really meaningful amount of time.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman. I am obsessed with the guest experience and helping attractions make that their top priority for success.
And I'm Matt Heller. I am passionate about organizational effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the Attraction Pros podcast.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Wow, we have subtitles.
We have subtitles in the form of a sock.
Yeah.
We do. We are so lucky today to have Caroline Schumacher, who is the president and CEO of Give Kids the World. And I didn't want to let this opportunity pass without doing a little plug for the fundraising that I'm doing for Give Kids the World, which is a pair of fantastic socks that are $25, and all of that money goes right to Give Kids the World. So that's my plug, and now let's get into our information about Caroline.
Yeah, so Caroline Schumacher is the president and CEO of Give Kids the World. She has been with the organization almost entirely since 1999. She got to Orlando just a little bit before that to help open Disney's Animal Kingdom. And she talks just all about the mission and the culture at Give Kids the World Village. And it's just such an amazing, inspiring organization, and the resort, the property, everything they do there is just so wonderful. One of the things she talks about is inspiring hope, light, and joy. If you've been to the village, which is it is a resort for families who have children with critical illnesses, it doesn't feel like that when you're there. It is a very joyful place. So when she says hope, light, and joy, that those aren't just buzzwords. It is probably one of the happiest places in Central Florida, and that's saying a lot.
It really is, given the reason that people are there. But the way that she does that and the way that she talks about that is really through this first-class hospitality mindset that she's developed over the years. And, to hear her talk about the details that people are going through, whether it's the hospitality team or the housekeeping team or the engineering team, really to make sure that people's visits are really carefree and just so full of hope, light, and joy, that's going to be a positive memory they're going to take with them for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that a lot of people talk about in their working lives is work-life balance. Well, Caroline has a little bit of a spin on it. It's work-life integration, and it's really about blending the two together to allow them both to thrive instead of seeing them as separate things we do in our lives in general. And just hearing her take on it, it isn't just inspiring, but motivating, and I would say very practical as well.
Absolutely. So is it time to get on our 5K running shoes, do a little run around, Give Kids the World, and get to this interview with Caroline?
Only if we're wearing the right socks for it.
Boom.
I've got mine too, so let's get to it.
Hi, Caroline. Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
We're great. Thank you so much for doing this. So excited to jump into this conversation with you. Can we start off kind of by learning a little bit more about your career and your background?
Absolutely. I'd like to say I'm not super interesting, but it is a bit of a story. So I've been in Give Kids the World Village for most of my career. I like to say I kind of grew up here. I've been in the orbit of the village for probably 28 years now. I started as a volunteer when I was on the Walt Disney World College program, which brought so many of us to Orlando. Got to open Animal Kingdom in 1998 as a trained engineer on the Wildlife Express. Jumbo, everyone. And I was encouraged to volunteer at Give Kids the World. I can remember the exact day I came over here. May 6th, 1998 was when I came to volunteer for a program we no longer do here called Parents Night Out, where we send parents of the wish children out on a date for the evening. We even gave them a pager. That dates me a little bit. So make sure they came back. And that was my introduction to Give Kids the World and really the world of nonprofit. And while I didn't really understand exactly what we did here, I knew we were doing something pretty extraordinary. And that if there was a way to get myself back here to do something, I wanted to do it. I graduated school from Ohio Northern University, where we keep a lot of cold weather. And after living 6 months in Florida, I decided, gee, there's a much better option out there than Ohio. No offense to my Buckeye Nation. There's lots of great things in Ohio, including Cedar Point and Kings Island. But I was like, let's get out of Dodge and head south where we keep the sunshine. I had, a goal of maybe working for Disney. I landed in Tampa, my brother's futon for a while and worked at the Tampa Port Authority, but I kept picking up my shifts at Disney as much as I could. And I found a newspaper. I picked up a newspaper looking for jobs in Orlando. How funny is that? A newspaper. That's where you used to have to find jobs before you could go online. And there was an ad for a volunteer coordinator at Give Kids the World. And I was like, oh, that's that place. I really would love to get back there. And they hired me. I'm not sure why. I had no experience in volunteer management. But I convinced them that I could be really nice with, retired people who came to volunteer. And I figured it out. I started right at the cusp of an expansion that doubled our capacity, which doubled our volunteer program in size. So I worked in volunteer management at Give Kids the World. I worked in guest operations, doing the front desk and the third shift and the reservations team. I also worked in fundraising and development here at Give Kids the World. And then for 6 years, I actually worked as vice president of operations. So I had the entire facility really under my belt. The only things I didn't have were like human resources, finance, fundraising, marketing, kind of the administrative side of the business. That basically takes me from 1999 to 2019. That's a very abridged version of all the fun things I did while I hopped around the village. And I knew if I ever wanted to be in this seat as the president and CEO or at another nonprofit organization of this size, that I needed to be very deliberate in what my next experience chapter was. And so I set out on a journey to find a nonprofit that was on a national scale, that had a relatively small budget so I could be very successful in fundraising, get board engagement experience. And I ended up spending the next 6 years then at the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, which coincidentally was founded by Henry Landworth, who founded Give Kids the World. 2 years prior to Give Kids the World, he founded the Mercury 7 Foundation with the Mercury 7 astronauts, and that eventually became the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. And then I made my way back here, and I've been back here in this leadership capacity for a little over a year now.
Wow.
Cool.
That is so interesting. Thank you. Yeah. Despite what you said, that is interesting. It is a very interesting career path and career story. I'm actually curious how all of this you said from 1999 to 2019 kind of gave us that sort of fast forward there, but also even talking about getting to Orlando, your time as a college program cast member at Disney at Animal Kingdom. How has the last 27 years or so compared with your intended career path when you first got to Orlando, just as that CP, opening Animal Kingdom, working there at the train, and then you said you were introduced or you were encouraged to volunteer at Give Kids a World, so introduced to Give Kids a World as well as the world of nonprofit. Where, I guess, how does that compare with what you thought you would be doing now?
Oh my gosh. If you were to get, I mean, if I rewind the cassette tape, it's really scary. I was a biology major for 2 years. And my whole intent was to going to like forensic pathology. I mean, very different career path. I was always really good at science. I'm a workaholic since I was 12 years old. I was on my dad's payroll for his business, and then I worked in a garden center as a cashier, and I waited tables. I actually really like working. I know that's kind of sick and twisted for a lot of people, but I really enjoy just like staying in motion. But in college, I did not like studying so much, and apparently that's a requirement for the sciences. And I discovered a little too much partying at the Regal Beagle, the one and only bar in town in Ada, Ohio, and my grades tanked. And I was like, "Whew, what am I going to do?" And I thought, wow, I've got to change majors. And a friend of mine said, "You're really good at speaking, you're really good at writing, you should go into the communications field." And so I did. And when I did that, I was a little bit constrained as a college student because I didn't have the resources to go do an internship outside. I didn't have a car. I really come from, I didn't have the means to go rent and lease an apartment for a couple months in another state and sort of take care of myself, nor did I really have the encouragement to go do something, on my own in a city necessarily outside of Ohio. And the college program, I was a big Disney fanatic growing up. We really didn't go to Disney. My time was spent like Michigan on lakes for vacation, or I joked about Kings Island, going to Kings Island in the summer. So I did, grow up in the attractions, never meant to go into that industry, but I did, I really did college program as a means of getting out of the state for a little bit, somehow finagling some credit hours and calling it an internship. I didn't mean to go into hospitality, recreation, or attractions. I was like, I'm going to go work for a communications PR agency, do traditional PR work, maybe special events. And Disney ended up being really an incredible experience. I totally bought into the pixie dust. Like, I mean, I loved it. And it was actually the person who encouraged me to come volunteer. He ended up becoming a Disney ambassador and now works in corporate social responsibility. We went to university together. And, coming over here and sort of being able to take everything I learned at Disney, just service wise and the way we treat people, just was such an easy transition. And when I moved down, here, I thought, yeah, when I work at Disney, I thought I want to do something maybe in special events or community relations where I could sort of touch that nonprofit field. And being able to just kind of, happen upon working here in such a variety of areas was really terrific because I could really bring all my skill sets together. I do a ton, ton of public speaking, especially even as a young volunteer coordinator at 22 when I started. I was doing volunteer orientations for 50, 60 people, a couple, 2 to 3 times a week, just bringing in people, really selling them on the mission, getting them to buy in. And then, as if you know anything about Give Kids World Village, we're a little bit of themed entertainment, attractions, hospitality, food and beverage all rolled up in one, which is really cool that we sit on the lines of so many industries. But yeah, it was very weird to sort of take these turns. I just learned really quickly to just say yes to any opportunity. So I was very niched in volunteer management. I kind of became the expert in the community at that time, and we fill over 1,200 shifts a week. I haven't found a volunteer program that runs at our scale yet. And you have to become very good at recruitment, retention, recognition, and then operate, making sure that operational strategy works too for the volunteers and making sure they comply with safety and our values and our service standards, all the good stuff. And then I was just asked to move over to guest services, and I thought, well, I don't know how to do any of that. I've never run a front desk and reservations, and I went over there and, gravitated to it pretty quickly. It actually was one of my favorite areas to work in the whole place. So just, I think it's saying yes to everything and being, for as much as sometimes I say I hate change, I think I end up doing it pretty willingly. But being able to trip into that and say, walk through those doors when they open and let things happen and embrace it really deeply when it happens. I don't know if that
So
answers.
Caroline, yeah, you mentioned a couple things that I know a lot of businesses struggle with: retention of team members, getting them to buy into your values and your mission. And you're doing this with volunteers, right? You're doing this with people that are not actually your employees, but they're coming because they want to come work, but they're not permanent employees. So, can you talk a little bit about how the team does get them excited about the roles? How it does balance, the retention and safety and that kind of thing for such a large volunteer population?
It is probably one of the most monumental things. And I love when I'm touring people and they get it. They said, wait a minute, so you train people every day on running an attraction, serving meals. Yes. And I said, imagine your workforce is temporary daily. I mean, you don't know if they're going to come back the next day. You want to try and predict it. So there's a few things. I think first of all, fundamentally, the core infrastructure, which is our paid employees, our staff members, we really have to have a very sincere, intentional culture. We have to believe in our values. We have to walk the talk. I mean, we can't just say, here's our values on a poster and that's how we have to embody them because those volunteers are watching us. And if they see us out of step, that's offensive to them. I mean, in so many ways, because here they are coming on unpaid time, driving through ridiculous traffic in most cases. I mean, if anybody's done 192 or I-4, Um, and sometimes on their vacation, like we have to really consider their time is precious. And in some cases, they kind of consider time their currency. They may not be donors. This may be how they give to our organization. So the authentic culture is really important because a volunteer will see right through you if you're not authentic and how you deliver. That culture of safety then also has to be right there. And I always say, like, as long as we're mission oriented, if we put the mission first, everything's going to line up. You'll follow your values. You'll use your values as guardrails and help you to make decisions. You'll always have the safest operation because you want that mission to be fortified and be around for, future generations. So I think when we get the infrastructure right, that's there. But then the reality is we have to motivate our staff that is responsible for each of those areas, the food and beverage operation, the entertainment area that oversees our attractions, our parties, our shows, our guest services areas. We have to make sure all those employees understand the nuances and a little bit of the extra care and concern that it takes when working with volunteers. We really do have to appreciate we are competing with their personal time. They have doctor's appointments, they go to church, they have kids in school, they have hair appointments. I mean, they could be doing so many other things with their spare time, and they're choosing to pick up a shift, drive here, spend a couple of hours, and give it up that way. That needs to be a really meaningful amount of time. So our team really tries to watch how those shifts go for people. So there's the reality that there's periods of the day when we're very quiet. Families are off at the theme parks. We may not be very busy. Morning and evenings, we're jamming. So everybody's going to get high engagement with families. But that midday can be the roughest time to bring on a brand new volunteer. So you have to set those expectations. Here's what you can expect today. It's going to be a little bit quieter. I encourage you to pick up a shift in the morning or evening to see the difference between the two. Some people might like that quieter shift. The other, when I say set expectations, we often also have to make sure we set the expectations of what we need from them. Don't have volunteers guess at it. They really need to understand what they're walking into, what we expect, what safety standards we expect, what are non-negotiables, where can they have some latitude and have some fun with the families, and what those service standards are. And I find that, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, they're gonna gravitate to what we do and probably amplify it, make it even better. But if we mess up and we don't share those expectations or we don't, really explain what those non-negotiables are, and I really kind of mean more in the safety areas, that's when things slip up. That's when we have frustrations. That's when we have rubs. And if somebody doesn't comply, I have zero issue with asking a volunteer to, maybe find a mission that's more appropriate for them if they can't support the one that we have and the expectations that we have. Um, I mean, that's just the reality. It may not be a fit for everybody.
Mm.
I love your use of the word intentional, and that the culture needs to be sincere and intentional. And you say not just words on a wall, but really living and breathing and actually coming out in the actions of your team and setting the expectation, setting the example for your volunteers as well. And one piece of that is the hospitality piece. And you mentioned a little bit ago that the transition from Disney to Give Kids the World, that it was not a difficult transition from the service mindset. And also in your bio, it says you strive to uphold a first-class hospitality mindset. And I'm curious, as far as what is your personal first-class hospitality mindset? How do you define that?
Yeah, so our philosophy here, and it was something that we started probably back in 2017, 2018, is just really once upon a time begins with you. If you've been to the village or seen the pictures, it's a very storybook atmosphere. And it was really struggling a little bit with how to level up without spending a lot of money. Everyone's very inclined to, oh, let me go out shopping and buy a big package of stuff for a family. And yeah, you can do that, and sometimes that is the answer. But I was like, no, it's more about what we do, how we make people feel. What is it? How do we motivate the housekeeping department, the engineering department? How do we have everyone own what their role is in the story of these families? We welcome over 7,000 families a year. I never want them to feel like they're getting a cookie cutter experience when they come to the village. I want it to feel very hyper personalized. Think about the Four Seasons and how they roll hospitality out. I mean, it's insane. And I used to benchmark off them when I was vice president of operations. I would take my team out there, just listening to how they ask questions and learning little bits of information. And so we try to do that a lot in the pre-arrival process, and then carry that through so that the entire experience feels very personalized for each family. But down to just our housekeeping department, I love to pick on them because they're so amazing. First of all, we have great retention in our housekeeping department, but these staff members really feel responsible that when they clean that villa and they set it up for the next family, they're the launch of that trip. They're first greeted at the airport by our volunteers, and then they are greeted at the front desk, and then they're immediately escorted into that villa. How's it going to smell when they walk in? How's it going to look? How's it going to feel? Down to like, is the couch centered under the picture frame? I mean, just they want it to feel first class for these families. We never want our families to feel like they're getting charity. I always say that I hope every Wish family that comes here can go stay at a first class resort, like a Disney resort or Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton or Atlantis in the Bahamas. Like they can go do some big, crazy, trip. But when they do, they say, this is spectacular, this is great, but it's not Give Kids World. I want it to be something that you just can't get anywhere else.
And so, Caroline, I'm guessing that most people know we've been kind of talking around it a little bit, the experience at Give Kids the World and who it's for and that kind of thing. But just in case somebody is not familiar with the actual mission, can you dive into that a little bit for us?
Absolutely. So we are a resort for children with critical illnesses and their families. They come here for a week stay. These children are considered what we call wish children. They're on their wish vacation. So they have come through one of the 250 wish granting organizations that we partner with. The largest and most well-known wish granting organization is Make-A-Wish, but there's so many others out there, a Special Wish, Dream Factory, a Wish with Wings, Dreams Come True of Jacksonville. I could go on and on. But these children are identified in their community that they're eligible for a wish. And a critical illness, that's always a tough one for people to put their arms around. We used to say life-threatening illness. Before that, we said terminal illness. So the best way to think about it is if the illness was left untreated, it would probably be terminal. But regardless, these are families who share the common thread of a critical illness, some, many cancer, rare diseases, some heart issues as well. And the reality is they have a pretty dark story that gets them even eligible to have a wish. And then they get to pick their wish, and kids can wish for anything, but the number one wish was from the beginning and still is today to go to Disney, or, now it really encompasses all the Central Florida attractions because we have Universal, we have SeaWorld, we have Legoland, Florida, we have Aquatica Water Park. I mean, you can even stretch it over to Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. Any of those wishes are eligible to stay with the village, and they get to stay for a week. Their traditional package is 3 days to Disney, 2 days to Universal, and a day at SeaWorld, but they can sign up for all those other attractions I talked about as well. So how, that's the core of what they're going to do on their wish experience. And that's sort of the driver that brings them down. But they stay at Give Kids World Village. So we have 89 acres of property with 166 villas on it. So it's more of like a condo style accommodation, to bedrooms in the villa, two bathrooms, everything, every single villa is accessible. They have a full kitchen as well. Very comfortable, very spacious accommodations for them, also very family friendly. Then we have a pool, we have a splash pad, we have entertainment venues with Amberville train station has model trains, it has an arcade, it has 3 wheelchair accessible attractions. We have a miniature golf course. We have an ice cream shop that starts scooping ice cream at 7:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night. We have a STEAM lab. It's called Mayor Clayton's Wonder Lab. It's all hands-on activities. We got the 3D printers in there. We have all kinds of cool activities that they can do. We have Twinkle Hope's Latte. Ooh, that dates me. Twinkle Hope's Rockin' Spa. It used to be Latte Da Spa in days of yore. That Twinkle Hope is a My Little Pony, and it's a spa so kids can get, tattoos and their hair done. We can do the full makeover if we want. We can do nails. There's even an adult little Olivia Oasis for them. It's called Olivia's Oasis, where they can go retreat and have a little Zen time. Our castle has a carousel that's accessible. We have a star fairy that lives in the castle, and every wish child that comes here gets a little gold star, and it's placed in the Castle of Miracles for eternity. They can come back and visit that star anytime. We serve breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Cafe Clayton. They dine in the gingerbread house. We have horse rides. We have a playground. We have Christmas every Thursday, a birthday party every Wednesday, and a Halloween party every Monday. So when and how they go to the parks amongst all of that, who knows? They get it all done though. It's a whole week where we pack it. It's absolutely cost free to the family. So it sort of takes them from this, this little dark journey that gets them here. They are weighed heavy, and then they get here and you just sort of see everything lifted off of them. We carry their trays, we serve their meals, we scoop the ice cream. They can't believe that we wait on them at every turn. We're here to help them navigate the theme parks and decide where to start each day. We have a concierge in the lobby for them. Mickey and Minnie come over and take photos here. Universal characters come over here and take photos. We have photographers here at the village. They get the photos at all the theme parks as well. Everything here is free. But at the end of the day, they really pay the biggest price to be here. So I always kind of hate talking about how it's free. It isn't, it certainly doesn't cost in, currency, but it does cost a lot for these families. And sometimes there's a dark journey when they get home. So this week really is just filled with light and joy for them. And they have all these amazing family memories built during this week.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a question or more so just kind of an observation connecting a lot of the things that you talk about here. You talk about you said it used to be referencing children with terminal illnesses, then life-threatening, and then changing that to critical. That just that change in verbiage completely changes the tone, and then that matches exactly what you said of when they get here, they have the burden that is lifted off while they're there. And I've been to the village, I've run the 5K during IAPA, just running around and waving to families. And my biggest takeaway is that this is such a happy place. It is, the families who are coming there, yes, they're coming for a very difficult reason, but it's almost as if you're allowing this escapism. They don't need to be thinking about all the things that they're thinking about and dealing with on a daily basis, but rather you can come here and just not have that be a part of your life this week while connecting with other families who are going through the same thing and being given the opportunity to say, hey, we've got that escapism. We can put that on pause this week.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that was actually a lot of motivation for the wish granting organizations to change their language, was really because our missions between wish granting organizations and Give Kids the World, I mean, our mission is to instill hope in these families. And sometimes families didn't even want to take a wish because it kind of meant they were accepting that their child was dying.
Mm.
Um, and none of us want to bring sadness. We're here exactly what you said, to bring joy. And I think just a shift in that tone, just like you said, and it kind of gives everyone that moment to open up and be like, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to, and when people come here, I hear all the time, oh, I could never do what you do. And it's like, yes, you can. The village is very easy to be happy at. It's a great place to work when you're having like the crazy day at work because all you have to do is go walk down the avenue, go out, you're just snap right back. It's a good reset.
So, Caroline, I'm wondering if we could shift gears just a little bit and talk a little bit about how you lead the team. And one of the things you mentioned before we started the official recording was talking about work-life integration, rather than balance, as some people will call it. And you said you had a couple of points that really kind of support that. So I'm wondering if we can dive into that.
Now you're gonna make me check my hairdryer notes because I told you I was talking about this while I was drying my hair this morning. But no, I don't know when or what I read a few years ago. It's probably been 5 years ago now. Just talking about work-life balance. I had a small team at the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, but we were small but mighty. We got a lot of work done, and I was trying to explain that my approach to work-life balance is I actually almost cringe when I hear the words because I don't know how you ever balance anything. And that's kind of my first point is like balance is really unrealistic. And there's seasons of life where it's not, one weighs hard more than the other because that's what it's supposed to do right now. For me, I can't speak for everybody. When I was young in my career, and I was unattached and, and I wasn't in a relationship. I certainly didn't have kids. I didn't even have a dog. I don't even think I had a goldfish. My responsibilities in my personal life were pretty minimal. I mean, taking care of me was probably monumental enough. And I could take that time to really pour into my career and my work. And I mean, let's be honest, when you work at Give Kids the World, it's hard to pull away from it. You want to give it all you've got. You feel like that's what it deserves. And so I did. I just really spent that time investing. And then, there were seasons then I had kids and I'd sort of earned my respect and my keep, and my reputation was really strong. Everyone knew she's going to get the work done. That if I need a little bit of flexibility, I could take that, and I try to give that back to other people now as a leader as well. And I'm checking my notes. Oh, I know there's not an on-off switch, right? So for me, especially, I think when you work an operational role in particular, you learn very quickly that you're always on. The first thing we do is check our phones in the morning. The last thing we do before we go to bed is check our phones. What's happened at our facility? Was there a natural disaster? Was there an accident? Did somebody get hurt by accident? Is a staff member okay? In my case, we're not just monitoring the facility, the volunteers and the staff, our families. Is somebody sick? Did they get sick on their stay? Or the reality that sometimes the sad part does happen at Give Kids the World, and I won't go deep into that. That's the last time I'll touch on that. But the on-off just doesn't exist. I have 3 kids, 3 dogs. My on-off doesn't exist there either. I mean, at any given moment, I mean, the dog was sick this week. My daughter sprained her ankle. She's supposed to be dancing in Ireland in a couple days. Like, last week was crazy. I had to figure out where my priorities go and what I could do where, when. But the biggest thing for me, and I would think this translates pretty well into the attractions industry as well, is that we give a lot of our time to our jobs because we care about it, because we want the safest experience. We want the high standard of service for our guests that are coming into our facilities. And I'm proud of that. And I want my family to be a part of that. And so I fold my family into my work life a lot. My youngest was volunteering the other day. You know, she didn't have a summer camp, and I certainly didn't want her home sitting and scrolling on the screen all day. So she came here and volunteered, and she interacted, and she sat at a lunch meeting with me downstairs in the gingerbread house. And I've taught them how to, and how you behave, and what's your manners when you're at work, and how is it different than when you're at home. And that's been really important. And then also, I'm really excited when I can share my successes at work, at home, and bring home great stories, and really try to intertwine it. I did that at the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation as well when I was there, and it was a completely different environment. My husband works for an assisted living facility for intellectually disabled adults. And so we try to go there and volunteer our time as well and engage with those residents. But I think, and I think it's when you're really proud of what you do, you want your family to be a part of it, because they're the ones that have allowed you, this time, and give up that time with you so that you can help make it great. So celebrating with them, and letting them kind of take some credit for it is really important. Actually, I'll tell a quick story, which is from a different industry, and that's why I like it. One of my dearest friends works for Northrop Grumman on all kinds of really cool classified stuff, so I don't exactly know what he does. But I was at an awards dinner with him in DC, big, and they can only tell like very high level summaries of the work that they do. But at the very beginning, the CEO of the company, she asked all of the spouses and friends and guests to stand and acknowledge them for all that they do to give up, because they know that the employee is giving up time sometimes with their family. So I think it's really important as leaders that we acknowledge that the families and the friends of our employees give up a little bit. And so they do, like I said, kind of get credit for our successes too. And any opportunity that you can have to help fold them in and allow your team to have that integration in their life is healthy.
I think my takeaway from that is when you treat work and life as integrated versus as balanced separate initiatives, they're able to both grow and thrive together. That
I
work
think
and life kind of being
so.
the same as,
I
lifts
think
up in
otherwise
itself.
you're working against them, right? They're
Yeah.
working against each other, and you're constantly trying to be like, okay, I gotta do this. Okay, I gotta do this. And instead, if you can sort of weave it, and it's going to work differently for everybody, but I feel like it's just healthier for your mindset too.
hmm Yeah. So Caroline, we've got still a few minutes left here in the interview. We love hearing inspiring stories that have taken place at Give Kids the World Village, and we'd love to know if you have any favorites that you love sharing that you want to share with our audience here.
Yeah, so I have a lot. But I tend to tell this one because it's really not about me. Uh, King Micah is who I'm going to talk about. So I received a call from my partners at Make-A-Wish of Illinois. This is a few years ago, and they said, Caroline, we have this young man, teenage boy. He's in high school, and his wish is to go to Disney and be king for a day. And they said, yeah, Disney, peace, easy. We can knock that out of the park. We all know that's going to happen. But we really feel like Give Kids the World can help us with the king for a day part. And I said, yeah, yeah, I got it. And so we did this whole thing we call personalization, where, we want to do something special for our family. And I kicked it over to the personalization team. And that is a cross section of our entertainment department that runs our parties, shows, and events and attractions, our reservations department, our guest services team. I kicked it over, and I'm going to be very honest, forgot about it. And so I dropped the ball on my end of following up. And, I was vice president of operations at the time. Weeks went by, and I'm in on a Sunday to just sort of drop in, check in on everybody. I'm looking at my emails, and I thought, oh, Mike is here. Oh my gosh. And I go deeper into my inbox and find out that the team they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They needed no direction from me. They wrote a script for Micah. At that point, we were doing on Friday evenings, we were having this big, we called it Once Upon a Village. And it was this fairy tale themed party on Friday nights down at our Park of Dreams pool on our pirate ship stage. But they invited Micah into the castle, and the pirates and the princesses and all the royalty of the village and Mayor Clayton, the 6-foot bunny rabbit who governs Give Kids World, they came together and they had a coronation ceremony for Micah, and he got a crown and he got a robe. And I mean, this kid is huge. He looks like he should be on the football team. And what the reason he wanted this was because he felt invisible at school. And I thought, I don't know how that kid feels invisible, but he had a neurological disorder, he had all kinds of things going on health-wise, and it had just made him feel very small and insignificant. And so then they paraded him down to the pirate ship stage. They brought him on there and they read a royal proclamation that it was King Micah's day. From this day here forward, and they did it in all the little old speak and everything, beautiful pictures. And I was just absolutely blown away. And the family was checking out. And I ran down to the front desk and I said, oh my gosh, I ran to Micah and his dad. I said, I have been, just so excited to meet you. I hear you got crowned the other night. And I mean, I had to look up to him to talk to him. I'm very short. And so he said, oh yes. And he didn't, he wasn't very verbal. I said, Mike, are you going to come back and visit us someday? He said, oh, I will come back. And I have this beautiful photo that's framed here in my office of Micah on the pirate ship stage. And he's just looking up at the sky with this just air of confidence. And that's what we sent him back with. Of course, our wish granting partners are blown away. The family was blown away. And it was just such a simple thing. And it just took, and our team, of course, had a ton of fun with it. But I'm proud of it because A, we followed through. We do what say we're going to do. But I didn't have to do it. We had such a great program and process in place that all I had to do was volley it to the right people, and they took it and ran with it. And when I always say you build a team to leave a team, and I remember that's when I was kind of thinking about leaving and getting ready to go explore a new opportunity. And it was one of those huge votes of confidence. I was like, they got this. They don't need me anymore. They got this.
That's so cool. What a great story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really do appreciate it. And you've been talking a lot about, what you do at Give Kids now. And I'm curious, what do you see as the future of Give Kids?
Yeah. So, one of the things, we were really disrupted by COVID, and the wish granting organizations were disrupted by COVID, and it's 6 years afterwards, and you can't believe we're even still having that conversation. But it really, the ripple effect has been pretty significant. And so right now, our biggest focus really was kind of doing, we went through a big leadership transition. We were still in rebuild mode alongside our wish granting partners. We have to recognize that we've got to be right alongside with them as they're rebuilding, and they're so regional that it depends kind of where you're at as to where they are in the rebuild process. And rebuild with our partners that support us too. Everybody was sort of in this just mode of kind of coming back and who are we now in 2026. And that's what we really spent the last year that I was here, since I've been back, is focusing on just long-term sustainability, making sure we can, I call it fortifying the mission, making sure we're a bit bulletproof for the things that'll come our way, that our maintenance program, really fun, is set up for the long term, for the roof replacements and the concrete, and that we've got the predictable expenses, and we know how much we're going to spend year over year on the big high ticket items for maintenance. So that dictates how much we fundraise, and making sure our development team is really strong, and we've got the right processes in place so that we're moving. We kind of just came out of really rebuilding our volunteer program. It was sort of like starting from scratch after COVID. We feel in a good place about that now. So now that we're kind of in this right trajectory, I just want to keep building and making us stronger and strengthening relationships. I would say between the wish granting organizations and us, there isn't necessarily exponential growth on the horizons. It's more about getting all those eligible kids into their wishes and the ones that are coming here, making sure that outreach can happen. So for me in the future of the village, I really just see us strengthening relationships, continuing to be a best in class operation as a nonprofit, as a resort, and crossing the attractions and themed entertainment industries as well, being really strong partners to everyone that supports us. And how can we make that, a mutually beneficial relationship? But so I just think it's continuing to strengthen, continue to improve as we kind of incrementally grow. I don't think we'll see explosive growth, but I think we'll just see the sort of that incremental growth as we move on and just keep making sure we're serving those families like we always have.
Yeah.
Amazing, incredible. Well, the work that you do is just fantastic, and we're just so appreciative. We always love just learning about Give Kids the World and being able to have these amazing conversations. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. If people are watching and listening and they want to donate, they want to volunteer, or at least they want to learn more, or maybe say hi to you directly, where would you send them?
So for Give Kids the World, gktw.org, gktw.org. That's the easiest way to find us. All our cool promotions on there. If you want to run the 5K with you, always got something going on. We have a really cool chance to win right now with the Castle Sweep at Disney. But those are all great things. If you and it's also a great place just to learn about us. You can find our social handles on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm probably easiest to find on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. I'm really responsive. So definitely welcome people to reach out to me. That's always great. Always want to build a stronger network of people as well. But yeah, I hope everyone does stay in touch. And if you come to the area and you want a tour, do reach out to me because we'd love to schedule people to visit. Because I believe I can talk about it all day, but you got to come here. You got to see it to believe it because it really is extraordinary.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to volunteer in the cafeteria, and it's an amazing opportunity. So I would echo that if people are there just to take a tour, or if you've got some time and you want to volunteer, I'm sure that would be okay with
Absolutely.
you as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And we make it so easy. You can do it right on our website. You just fill out
yeah,
the application on the website. It's super easy.
awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Caroline. This has been just a wonderful conversation. And for everybody out there who's watching and listening, just remember, we are all attraction pros.